If I had a penny for every time somebody suggested that I should build a lathe, by now I'm pretty sure I'd have like $1. I've had the idea of building one, and for the bearings I was just going to have a steel shaft that rotates in wooden blocks like this, and I figured that should work. So I drew the lathe up in SketchUp, and I printed out the end profile one-to-one using my big print program, and I'm going to use some used plywood to try this experiment. The bed of the lathe is going to be these two pieces of hardwood, and then the headstock is going to be these pieces like this, and the shaft is going to mount on wooden bearings on top, and then the tailstock is going to go together almost the same way. For gluing the headstock together, I scraped off any varnish off this used plywood where I'm going to glue it, and I also made some spacers to hold the middle part at the right height. And I almost forgot to drill a hole right here. I'm squaring up a hole for a carriage bolt, which will be for holding the headstock on. And now to make the bearing blocks. First I drilled the screw holes for mounting it, then I cut the block in half, and then I clamped it back together, and then I drilled a hole through it. I round the corners a bit on the belt sander just to save my knuckles on it later. This is transferring the pilot hole locations. So I want to put this on here as a pulley, but I really should have a bit more thickness, so I thought, why not just add another step pulley here? I drilled the holes slightly undersized, but to make sure these won't spin on the shaft, I'm going to cut a keyway right here. I'm using a nail as a key to keep the pulley from slipping on the shaft. I just realized I forgot to put glue between those two discs, so I pried them apart again, and now just putting the glue in there. And I almost forgot to put the V-belt on. Okay, got a clamp down on the workbench, and I've got a spacer here to keep the motor at the right distance. I guess I should oil those bearings now. I need a little bit more belt tension. Now with the groove turned in the large pulley, I can put the V-belt in that and work on the smaller one. That's a much better point. Now I need a way to spin a workpiece that's up against this point here, and and the easiest would probably be to just weld a couple of nails to the side of the shaft, but you gotta have a welder for that. Next thought was to cut a thread on here and then grind some points onto a coupler nut that screws onto here, but again you need to have special tools for that. So my thinking is to put a wooden sleeve on there and some screws in on the edges to have some prongs here. So these two washers here are going to act as a thrust bearing, and I have to put those on now because this part is not going to come off. I've got the hole lined up close enough I can see through it, so I should be able to just drive this nail in there. For the tailstock of this lathe, I'm just going to have a shaft that's clamped on here, and I need to grind a point on here that's perfectly conical, smooth, and centered. And the way I did that for the headstock worked out really well, so I rigged up a temporary pulley on the shaft that's actually for the tailstock, so I can grind and smooth that point. Now I just need to make it a little bit smoother. Well, that came out nice. So now I can bring those points together really precisely. I drilled the hole in the bearing blocks a little large so I have some wiggle room. So I'll have to sand the top block to tighten that up. Now I just need some kind of a tool rest. So I'm figuring a board in here, and then a block that attaches here, and then this goes on here, and a metal strip in here to protect it against the chisels. Well, I'm actually ready to do some wood turning on here.